Dribble.
Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back doing another little solo number after being gratefully joined by Matty B last week. I will be back running the ship tonight. Really looking forward to tonight's episode. I'm going to touch on some quick odds and ends that have occurred from the NBA and the NBL over the last week or so. Then going to dive into a little bit of a contentious topic. I'm going to give my top 10 players heading into the upcoming season. Now, I know this sparks heaps of debate. I'm probably going to give a few that you're going to agree with, some that you're not going to agree with, but I'm certainly looking forward to tackling that one shortly. Before we get into it, though, guys, a big shout out to both the Spotlight Sports Network and The Cover. Super stoked, as I always say, to be a part of those two entities, doing big things not only for ourselves, but other podcast producers out there. So certainly appreciate the work that they're both doing. Just on last week, speaking of The Cover, as I mentioned, I was joined by fellow cover brethren, Matty B from the Fifth and Dribble podcast. Mate, big shout out to you. Had an absolute hoot doing that episode. I can't wait to do it again soon. So be sure to check out that episode, guys. And if you do, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, wherever you listen to the show. Do all that good stuff. Certainly very much appreciated. Right. Let's get into some odds and ends, guys. I'm going to start on the Dower side, I guess. The Dower news that unfortunately NBA legend Bill Russell passed away during the week on Monday, I believe it was there, at 88 years of age. Now, an absolute icon of the game. Bill Russell, 11 times champion, 5-time MVP, won 2 championships as the first black coach in NBA history. And he'll go down in history as the greatest champion on the history of team sports in regards to the amount of titles won. 11, it's just unparalleled what he achieved in the league and outside of the league as well. He's a huge advocate for equality, civil rights, social justice. And he certainly leaves a profound impact on and off the court. As I said, what he achieved, I don't think it'll ever be duplicated there. It was a phenomenal stretch he had with the Celtics there, and it's a tremendous loss to the NBA community as a whole. As I said, the impact he had, so many players modeled their games after him, and I guess for fans as myself who didn't get to see him, he probably he's almost probably underrated what he was actually accomplishing on the floor. But go back and watch some of his highlights, and this guy was just an absolute freak athlete, deserved every accolade, every bit of, applause he received. So certainly will leave a heavy hole in the NBA community. Well wishes to his family and friends there, but what an absolutely phenomenal career for Bill Russell. As I said, on and off the court, the work he did off the court, arguably just as impressive as the work he did on it, if not more so. So we'll start with that note there. Transitioning into a slightly light-hearted piece here. During the week, this was the other week actually, but Dwight Howard, he had some WWE tryouts. Now, from all reports, he performed pretty well, cut some promos, did all that serious stuff. But from all accounts, he's really serious about forging a career within the industry. Now, I kind of want to pose this question to you guys out there. Who do you think would be the best matchup for Dwight Howard in the main event of WrestleMania? I tell you what, with those shoulders, he'd do some serious damage. I'd like you guys to pose it out there, whether it's a WWE superstar or just an NBA player, a celebrity, anyone. Pose your best matchups for Dwight Howard there. I would love to hear them. I certainly hope this does eventuate. I would love to see him step inside the ring, should I say. I would love to see what he can achieve there. He certainly has the charisma for it. So we watch his space with eager anticipation there. The Wolves have signed Eric Paschal during the week on a 1-year deal. Comes off a stint he had there with the Jazz off the back of being with the Warriors there. And this kind of ties in with my point. I've spoken to a few people during the week about the Wolves. I'm actually quite excited to see how they perform. Now, Towns is saying it's a title or bust year. Don't quite agree with that one. I think they're probably a year or two. They're going to have a bit of an ironing out phase. You're integrating a huge player in Rudy Gobert, figuratively and literally, into your squad. So I don't think this is probably going to be their year to go for it. It's got to be more of a linear, progression, a gradual progression, should I say. I think they're looking in that 5th to 6th range. Now, I'm hearing some people say they're going to be right up there in that top tier of NBA teams, West teams, that is. And others saying they're, a playing playoff borderline team. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think. I think personally they're going to be in that 5th to 6th range, but I think they're going to be an incredibly exciting team to watch. Their depth now is starting to build there with Eric, with Rivers starting to, they're going to be really complementary pieces to the Russell, Gobert, Towns. You sometimes forget D'Angelo Russell's with that squad as well. So really excited to see what they can achieve. But I really think their time frame to really go for it's probably 2 to 3 years. But big stuff there for the Wolves. It's good to see them relevant again. Not since KG have they actually been a prominent force within the league. So fantastic to see them back up and about. How's this one? I like this. This is a point we've spoken about a little bit over the, on this show before in the past. But boxers Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya are planning to start a franchise in Vegas. Now, LeBron has expressed desire to be part of an ownership group should it arise in Vegas. But again, another question posing to you guys out there. Would you like to see another team added to the league, Vegas or any other? It kind of feels inevitable that we're heading that way. But do you think Vegas is the best spot for a destination or for a new franchise? We did a bit of a fun segment. It was a little while ago now, myself, Rowan Lee. Shout out to the boys. Hope they're still enjoying their holiday there. And we posed a couple of franchises that we would start should we have the power. I believe I had the St. Louis Eagles. I think it might have been Lee had the Florida Gators, memory serves correctly. And I think Roy had the Las Vegas Fortune. We posed, a superstar to build around, a logo, a mascot, a food that you'd have in the arena. Had a heap of fun with that one. That was a little while ago now. But certainly Vegas seems to be the front runner for an expansion spot. I personally think, that it is a money-driven league. We see with, contracts just, absolutely ballooning at the moment. Money is key. And for owners, for investors, seeing another franchise gaining that extra bit of interest, that little bit more traction, I think everyone's going to jump at the opportunity for it. And I think if anywhere, Vegas would be probably the most exciting destination at the moment. So I look forward to seeing how that plays out. I think no doubt we will see another team soon. Whether it's in Vegas, maybe a Seattle rebrand back up to Vancouver, who knows? But I would certainly be putting my money, pun intended, on Las Vegas there. Guys, let's move ahead to the NBL. Now, I'm going to do this, I guess it's more so NBL transfer news. I'm going to rip through them pretty quickly over the coming weeks as we start to approach the NBL season a little closer. I'll kind of go through the teams and do a bit of an overall season, analysis. But I'll rip through some key transfers today. And I'll start with the news that friend of the show, Vic Law, has secured a move to Japan there with the Shiba Jets. Wish him all the best, from the bottom of our hearts. Truly a phenomenal player, but also a fantastic guy to boot there. It was an absolute privilege to see him in person play. I know they got over the Jack Jumpers in that one, the Wildcats there. But fantastic to also speak to him when he was with the Brisbane Bullets. Just a tremendous guy, tremendous athlete. So wish him all the best there in his move to Japan. Tyler Johnson joins the Bullets. Comes with a wealth of NBA experience there. The Bullets kind of snuck under the radar, well, starting to make waves now, but really becoming quite heavy hitters in this transfer market because they also acquired Aaron Baines during the week. He'll join on a 1-year contract. That contract also has an NBA out clause should any teams come knocking for him. But, this comes after a severe spinal cord injury at last year's Olympics. The heart of this guy, he pretty much had to relearn how to walk again. Learn, should I say, how to walk. It really is phenomenal to think 12 months ago, he was just in a totally different situation. Not only, forget about playing basketball again, but trying to walk again. And now he's returning back to the court. Couldn't be happier. That's a bit of Aussie ticker right there. Fantastic for the Bullets as well. Fantastic for the league. Really keen to see what he can do in the NBL, but certainly hope he gets an opportunity to finish in the NBA on his own terms. But for the Bullets, paired with Tyler Johnson, Nathan Sobey as well, they're really putting together a championship level squad. There's a lot of teams out there who are making big moves, but the Bullets can't be slept on. Thon Maker and Hawk star Stuart Reith are both off to China. Maker with the Fujian Sturgeons and Reith with the Qingdao Eagles. Huge loss, especially Reith there. He averaged 15.5 points, 7 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks a game last season. Might I just say, just on the CBA there, the Chinese Basketball Association, phenomenal league. If you're ever craving some ball, you want to mix things up from your NBA, your NBL, your Euro League, if you're into it, mate, the Chinese league is filled with talent. It is just such an exciting league. Put up a boatload of points. I wouldn't say there's a whole heap of defense going on, but it's just buckets upon buckets. And as I said, some really high level quality players in there. A lot of ex-NBA players. A lot of blokes who are just going to get the bag. Fair enough to them. But it's a really incredibly exciting league. So, if you're ever craving some basketball action, be sure to check it out. The Hawks there have replaced him with Mangok Mathian. He played a few games with the Charlotte Hornets there in the 2017-2018 season, was bowling out in the NBL 1 last season, and putting up nearly identical stats to Reith there. So he will fill that hole nicely. Good pick up there for the Illawarra Hawks. It certainly looks like they were going to be, I guess, in a world of pain. They've kind of lost quite a lot of players this offseason, but filling that void of Reith there with my man Mathiang, because it's got the G at the end. We're going to go Mathiang, really accentuate it there. But looking forward to seeing what he can do. Back to the Perth Wildcats. We touched on them losing Vic Law. They've added sharpshooting big man Brady Manick. Now, he's going to be really exciting to their roster. I saw quite a few highlights of him just in video packages. And this guy can bowl. He comes from the North Carolina Tar Heels. Huge acquisition there. Their pedigree is second to none there in the college landscape. So really excited to see what he can do. I love a big that can shoot the ball. Becoming more and more prominent. You see in the NBA, the Joel Embiids, the Nikola Jokic's, they're the guys who are winning MVP awards at the moment. So, certainly hope that Manick can do big things in his time here. Move ahead to Melbourne United. Now, they've arguably I know in Rose's eyes it'll be the biggest loss, have lost Matthew Dellavedova. He has got his NBA return to the Sacramento Kings. Big kudos to him. It's fantastic. All NBL second team last season. I know for Rowe and myself, I guess to a certain extent, was an absolute highlight of the season, being able to see him in person. It was funny in the semi-finals last year, the Jack Jumpers of Melbourne United, whether we were cheering for Delhi or booing for him. It was a bit of a combination of both, but nevertheless, fantastic to see him back in the NBA. Melbourne United have replenished well though. They've signed Xavier Rathan-Mays. He was with the Illawarra Hawks last season, a shooting guard there, little import spot. So he'll line up with United, as will Rajon Tucker. Now, this might be the guy I'm most excited about. I put up something a couple of nights ago on our socials, on our Instagram there, a bit of a highlight package. This guy, explosiveness second to none. It's a very, prime Russell Westbrook reminiscent. Comes with a wealth of G League experience, became the all-time leading scorer for the Wisconsin Herd, Milwaukee's affiliate team there. Across 61 games, he averaged 21.3 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Will just be super exciting night in and night out. And, as I said, I put the highlight package up a couple of nights ago. I'll be sure to put some more clips up. But this guy, I think, is probably my name to watch. He is so exciting. And is just going to offer really aid a Melbourne United team that's had some big losses, losing Delhi, losing JLA, replenishing it with a couple of exciting players here in Mays and Tucker. Again, with Chris Goulding there still, another team to watch out for. I tell you what, there's not going to be many bad teams in the league this season, which is really exciting. It just shows what a healthy position the league is in. On a night-to-night basis, it's just about heads or tails as who's going to win it. But certainly looking forward to talking a little bit more about each respective team closer to the season. I'll end with the JJs. Now, news hot off the press just the other day. They've added former Hawks sharpshooter Isaac White as an injury replacement player for Clint Steindl. Now, I'm going to give you the hot little tip. Watch this space Had a little bit of contact the other day with White, phenomenal guy. Reached out and just put the feelers out there as to whether you'd be interested jumping on the Daily Dribble podcast. Things are in motion, so hopefully over the next week or two, touch wood, we'll hopefully have White joining us on the show, which will be fantastic. Get a bit of an insight as to how his season was with the Hawks last year, what the move to the JJs is going to be like. So certainly watch this space. Really, really excited to hopefully have a chat to him, and excited to see what he can do with this team that was in their inaugural season went to the finals. It's a lot to live up to now. You've set the bar at here. You got to keep matching it. It's going to be an exciting year. So looking forward to that. As I said, we'll discuss the NBL a little bit more over the coming weeks. Let's transition to the NBA though.
The Daily Dribble.
Very good. Now, as I said at the top of the show, I was somewhat nervous to do this. During the week, I was like, oh, okay, I've got a few ideas here, but this was the one I ran with. Now, I'm going to give my top 10 players heading into next season, take into account their output, impact on winning, all that good stuff. Just my top 10. It is a fluid list throughout the year. It'll be certainly subject to change, even maybe over the course of the off season, subject to change. But as I said, guys, as with a lot of these segments, you guys make it. So be sure to let me know what you think of my list, where I went right, where I went wrong. I know I'm going to have at it this week. It's going to be a lot of talking points, a lot of conversations, and I can't wait to get stuck into them. So without further ado, I'm going to go from 10 through to 1. And then at the end, I'll give a couple of honorable mentions. Let's get into it. So my number 10 player heading into next season, I've gone Ja Morant. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago, I put a reel up on it. I said I'm officially a believer in the Grizzlies, and that I am. I truly, truly believe in them. And Ja Morant's a huge, huge key cog of that. As I said, I take into account output, impact on winning. Granted, the Grizzlies performed well above their weight without Ja during the season, but I just think he adds just another dimension to them. In terms of scoring, in terms of excitement, in terms of passion, he is their guy. And I think this is a year where we could really start to see him move into that top 5 to 10 players within the league. It's a big, big call. There's a lot of talent within the league, but I certainly see that's the way he's heading. My big concern with Morant, and it's a point I've touched on before, had a couple of conversations in person with a few people during the week about this, is I just get so worried with Morant every time he goes up that he's going to come down and do a serious, serious injury. I think it's just the nature about it, which he goes at the game, which is a testament to him, but I can't help but, tense up every time he goes for a spectacular dunk. But Ja Morant, you know what I like about him is the fact is he's changed perception of a whole franchise for me, essentially, because I, up until a couple of months ago, had written the Grizzlies off. I was not that high a believer. I think last season in my predictions, I put them, I think 12th or 13th. It was pretty low down in the Western Conference there, and he got them up to second, third. There it was, I believe, second, third. Jeez, there it goes. Only a couple of weeks removed, and I've already started to lose the plot. But I think this season, a couple of weeks time, probably 5-6 weeks out from doing our start of season grading, I will absolutely be having the Grizz a hell of a lot higher this time around. Ja Morant clinches the number 10 spot for me. The number 9 spot, a guy just removed from the NBA Finals, I've gone Jason Tatum. Now, this is one that I think will cause a bit of debate. Some will have him higher, some will have him lower, depending which side of the fence you sit. I know Ro, our resident Beantown fan, would probably have him higher, but I think this is a pretty appropriate place for Tatum. Now, he's a funny player. I think he's incredible. I think he's phenomenal. I think what he did this season with the Celtics, the turnaround from the halfway point, that second half of the season through the playoffs there, phenomenal. And he was a driving force behind that. My only concern is, I guess, the consistency side. Can he be your number one guy on any given night? I know him and Brown alternate to a certain extent. One night, tit for tat nearly. But Tatum, I don't know if he's your number one guy, how far they can take you. If you were to lose, say, Brown with injury, I don't know if Tatum's the guy to carry the load. We've seen, I'll probably speak about him shortly, a little spoiler there, but say with Brooklyn, with KD and Harden, if Harden goes down, KD can still carry your team, carry your offense, get victories. I just don't know how Tatum goes on that front by himself. So I've got him at 9th. Potentially by season's end, you could have him a hell of a lot higher in that top 5, arguably. Saw him make All-NBA first team this season. Kudos to him. But another player, and I guess Boston as a whole, a team that I'm still waiting to see develop. And it'll be certainly interesting to see how this KD saga plays out, whether they offload Brown, bring in KD, and, we'll see how that dynamic shifts. Again, time will tell how that plays out, if that will actually eventuate. I don't know. I still think, we spoke about it last week with Matty B on the show. I still think you run with Brown, with Tatum. You've added Brogdon this season. You still got the DPOY and Smart, Rob Williams, Grant Williams. The list goes on and on and on. Their depth is phenomenal. But I think if with Tatum and Brown at the helm, that's their route moving forward for a longer sustained period of success. But really impressed with what he's done over the last, 6 months in particular, Tatum. It's just going to be that consistency of being the number one guy on a night-to-night basis. It's going to, I guess, alter my opinion of him. Number 8, again, another player who, it depends which side of the fence you sit on him. I've gone Kawhi Leonard. Now, we're a season removed from seeing him. Still arguably one of, if not the best two-way players in the league. Again, you could almost have forgotten how good he is, just because it has been so long between drinks for Kawhi. But again, this team, and shout out to Matty B there, the Fifth and Dribble boys, the LA Clippers are a team that cannot be slept on. You're going to hopefully have, Kawhi, saw videos the other day. He's looking like an absolute tank at the minute. Paul George, hopefully back fit and firing. You add John Wall into the fold. They're a team poised and ready for a genuine crack at it. Now, I know a couple of years ago when they got these 2 big signings in George and Kawhi there, that's since fallen flat in no short part due to injury. But I think this is the year that Stevie Ballmer will be getting his return on investment. I truly believe, that Kawhi, for me, that moment in time of him against Philly in Game 7, hitting the bounces it's so appropriately put, to send Toronto through, should I say, clinch the NBA Finals against the Warriors there. That run was one of the greatest runs in NBA history. The way he just pretty much almost single-handedly dragged a franchise to a title. I think he can do it again this season. I know he's probably got better running mates this year in the Clippers, but Kawhi just on both ends of the floor, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. I'm so excited to see him back within the league. He's a guy I'd love to hear where you guys sit on him. Do you still believe he's a top 10 player in the league with all the talent that's in it? Does he slip out? Where do you see him? And do you think he'll return to the level that he was seasons gone by? Really excited for Kawhi. A guy I'm also excited for, and I hope he has a huge bounce back season. I've gone at number 7, the King, LeBron James. This was hard because, it's head and heart. Heart, I could have had him as high as, 2 or 3. I truly believe, he's going to go down as one of, if not the greatest player in the history of the game. Having him at 7th, even at his age, feels almost criminal. I'm really excited to see what he does in terms of breaking the all-time scoring record this season, in terms of what he does with the Lakers team that's desperate to bounce back, to see what he does with a career that's starting to wind down, really pushing for that last title or 2. I think he's still going to put up massive numbers. I hope for his sake, I really hope for his sake, the Lakers are good enough without him to eke out wins, and that they're not so reliant on him during the regular season, that he can kind of coast, take some games off, and then when it comes crunch time in the playoffs, really start to assert his dominance there once again. So I've got him at 7th, but a big cloud hangs over the franchise as a whole. What they do with Westbrook, is AD He's been putting in work this offseason, but will it actually translate to on-court success? I'm really, really nervous. I'm really nervous. I still think they've got a punter's chance if you got LeBron, but going to need everyone else to step up around him. Number 7 spot goes to the King there. The number 6 for me, this is hard because he's a player at the moment. He'll probably be my pick again for MVP, my MVP pick. Yet I've got him 6th. I've gone Luka Doncic. Started the season really slowly, injury, things of the kind. Always takes a little while to get going. I think at the moment, from what I've seen in preseason, this is the best he's going to look going into a season. Normally it takes him a month or two to really get going. We saw the last half of the season, he ramped things up to another level. Could have, possibly had a case in that top 5 MVP ballot. But I think if he goes into the season fit, healthy, motivated, look out league. Pardon me. I really think he's going to have to put up massive numbers, especially now with Jalen Brunson moving on to the Knicks. Would not be surprised to see him putting up 39-9, 30-10 even. He's going to have some big numbers. Keen to see what he can do with Christian Wood. That duo is one that really excites me. Don't know how far it can take you. It's going to be, again, reliant on supporting cast, as with LeBron. But Luke is a guy with the talent he possesses. This team could be poised for another run at it. I still think they're probably a piece away from being top-tier contenders. But they're going to be in and around the mix. So, number 6 goes to Luke, and number 5 goes to the MVP runner-up, Joel Embiid. He's going to have a fire under him. 2 years in a row he's been runner-up. Had a really, really solid case this season until injury in the last couple of games kind of set him back a little bit. But he's going to have a huge load on his shoulders. Probably one of the best off seasons that Philly had in recent years. Just adding a bit of heart there. PJ Tucker, Daniel House. They've got the Houston Rockets band back together, complemented by Harden there. But they're going to have to start living up to expectations. The last couple of seasons gone by, I've had lofty expectations for them, and they've continued to fall flat. Therefore, I probably won't be as high on them going into next season. I hope they surpass my expectations, but with Embiid there, for me, the 5th best player in the league heading into next season, they should be in and around the mix. What his game is like, he is just an absolute dominant force. His ability to stretch the floor from 3, but also, the amount of free throws this guy clocks up is just incredible. Got such a well-rounded game. Passing is well and truly underrated part of his skill bow there, should I say. But, I really think Philly, I'm just running through in my head. We're going to have Boston, going to have the Bucks. At this stage, I'd probably have Philly over the Heat, just off the top of the head. So they should be in the top probably 3 or 4 teams within the East. So certainly hope Embiid has another huge season. He'll be certainly pushing for that MVP to get so close and yet just fall short. The last couple of seasons will certainly irk him, but expect big numbers once again from him. I'll move ahead to the reigning back-to-back MVP, Nikola Jokic. Again, a point. This is a guy who's probably going to spark a little bit of debate. Having him as the ranked fourth player for me heading into the season. As I said, back-to-back MVP. Might be a little bit hard done by there. But again, I expect him to probably see a little bit of a dip in output. I still think he'll be phenomenal on both ends of the floor. But I expect just with Porter Jr., Jamal Murray coming back into the fold to see his output decrease a little bit. I think his output's almost been a byproduct of situation. The fact that they haven't had other options to go to, which is no fault of his own. Certainly don't take it away from him. And I still think he'll be a phenomenal force, but I expect him to slightly regress a little bit on the output side of things. Number 3 goes to KD. I've got Kevin Durant there as my third-ranked player heading into the season. Again, a huge question mark hangs over his head about where he's actually going to be playing come season tip-off. Will it be Boston? Will it remain in Brooklyn? Will there be a Toronto who throws a package or an unknown team? You just wouldn't know at this point in time. The news has died off a little bit over the coming days, but what does remain, even at 34 years old, even removed from serious injuries, he is one of, if not arguably, the best player in the world in many people's eyes. What he can do on the floor, Slim Reaper. He, as I mentioned, just with Tatum there in comparison, he can will your team to victory. As the number one guy, without, backup, he can do it. And I certainly expect him to just continue to put up massive numbers this season. He's just a joy to watch. He's really poetry in motion. And, a couple of seasons ago in that series against the Bucks, had it have not been for his big toe, they could have been NBA champions there, the Brooklyn Nets. And, well, who knows, the butterfly effect. Who knows if this whole situation would be going on at the moment. But I've got him ranked as the third player for me. Number 2 goes to the reigning finals MVP, Stephen Curry. I've got him as my second-ranked player heading into this season. What a phenomenal talent he is. I've probably given him this based on the gravity of what he does in terms of an offense. He doesn't always have to be scoring the ball. He doesn't always have to be facilitating or having a cracking night, dropping 10 threes a game. He could be having an off night, but the way he pulls defenses towards him, that they gravitate towards him, is probably unlike any player within the league, just because he is such a potent threat. And it really is from half court he's a threat. I expect him to probably, I guess in the Warriors, best case scenario, probably like LeBron, try and coast a little more through the season. 4 titles, certainly got a really great shot at a 5th this season. I expect probably these younger guys, the Wisemans, Kumingas, Moody's, to carry a little bit more of the load. And probably for them, with any luck, Steph Curry just coast a little more through. So probably not expecting him to be in the top couple for MVP. Still think he's probably the number 2 player in the league at the moment. But he's going to have a phenomenal year, and certainly don't be surprised to see the Warriors go back-to-back. My number 1 player is a guy who I think will be right back. There was a little bit of voters' fatigue, you could argue, over the last couple of seasons, but a guy I firmly expect, probably the best player in the world at the moment. It depends which way you want to sit. There's a lot of different opinions swirling around out there. The Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he is just incredible. He's an incredible player. Again, what he did, nearly wheeling that Bucks team over the Celtics there into an NBA Finals matchup. There wasn't any more that this guy could do. He plays with it all, and it's scary to think he's in his prime at the moment. I expect, after coming off the MVP awards, Jokic rose to the forefront again, probably just for a little bit of fatigue. There were many people arguing that Giannis could have clinched that MVP this season, but I just think what he does, again, another player both ends of the floor. It's probably between him and Kawhi, the 2 best two-way players within the league. I expect him to be right front and center, MVP, getting the Bucks back into that, back towards that championship window. Hopefully a healthy Chris Middleton will aid that. Had a bit of a reel the other week. It certainly had a bit of afters, that one. It's still going pretty strong after that, just about whether the Bucks would have been possibly NBA champions had Middleton have been healthy. A lot of people saying yes. Now, who knows whether that was true or not, but we'll certainly hopefully get another red hot crack at it this season. A healthy Middleton, healthy Drew Holiday, healthy Giannis, Bobby Portis resigned, healthy Brook Lopez. They're going to be certainly in and around the mix, which is really exciting. And to see what Giannis is doing, the consistency he does it with, the numbers are just freaky. Rarely seen across the course of NBA history what he's doing. Well, in fact, not being seen in NBA history. It's just a testament to his work ethic, his desire, his hunger. Certainly don't be surprised to see him, by the time his career is done, early shout, but etching his way into that top 10 of all time. It is a big shout. We've spoken about Curry making his way into that fold over the last couple of months. But when it's all said and done, Giannis is certainly another name who could be in and around the mix, which can't wait to see how the rest of his journey progresses. As I said, it's awesome that he's still in his prime, still so much ball left to go for him. It's going to be a wicked year to see how it plays out. So there is my top 10. I'll rattle through it, then give some honourable mentions. I had Ja Morant at 10, Jason Tatum at 9, Kawhi at 8, the King at 7, Joel Embiid at 5, Nikola Jokic at 4, KD at 3, Stephen Curry, the reigning finals MVP at 2, and my number one player heading into next season, the Greek freak Giannis. Guys, hit me up. Let me know what you think of that. I would love to hear where you went right, where I went right, and where I went wrong, what you would do differently. Throw your debates, your questions at me, why I made these decisions. I love it. I love engaging with you guys. So be sure to hit me up there. A couple of honourable mentions I had. Again, names that you guys might feel are in that top 10 or in and around the picture. There's just a list of names here. I had Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Jimmy Butler, Trae Young, Kat, AD, Jimmy Harden, Zion, who nearly made a case for me heading into the season. I know a long time removed from seeing him play ball, but the impact he will have on the league and the Pelicans will be profound. Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, again, a guy who's probably been slept on just because of the Blazers as a whole and the time he's spent away from the game. DeRozan, Levine, the list really does go on, and it's just a testament to the shape that the league's in at the moment. There's so much talent league-wide, which is awesome as a fan. As a content producer, it's wicked. So I certainly believe it's going to be a massive, massive season coming up to the NBA. Brilliant. Guys, I've had an absolute blast here today recording this one. As I said, I was nervous doing this one. It's always a contentious topic, but I've certainly enjoyed tackling it, enjoy engaging with you guys about it. As I said, keep your eyes peeled over the next week or two. Hopefully have new Jack Jumpers acquisition today joining us. As I said, I kind of got onto him as soon as the news was made about his signing. But if we can, I'm hoping the next week or two. I've said to him, Isaac White, mate, jump on board. I'd love to have you on. He's all systems go. So we're just teeing up a bit of a time now. Again, would be awesome to get his insight coming into the upcoming NBL season and just to chew the fat with him. Guys, I really appreciate all the continued support. As I said at the top of the show, be sure to stay up to date with all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with me. I'm always up for a chat on LinkedIn. Like, comment, share, subscribe, wherever you listen to the show. If nothing else, though, for me, can you do me a favor? If you've got any friends out there, whether it's your family, your friends, your great uncle's cousin's dog, share the podcast with them. Let them know what we're about. We'd love to have some new listeners. Just get the word out there. I'll be eternally grateful and keep pumping out episodes. Certainly loving it. Certainly hope the boys, shout out to Rowan Lee. Hope they're enjoying their time away. Certainly probably won't be too long until we see them back again. But nevertheless, enjoying doing these solo ones. Feel like I'm starting to get into the groove again with it all. So certainly a little bit daunting the first couple, but nevertheless having a hoot and a half with it. So, guys, without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back next week dropping another hot episode with all your NBA and NBL news. Till next week, though, guys, enjoy the off season, enjoy the episode, and I'll talk to you soon.